Well, hello there, and welcome to your very first step in improving your web marketing for the better. Topic number one today in your pre-training is what Google cares about and why. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this important? Why do we have to talk about what Google cares about when we're talking about my website today? And that's a very good question, one that deserves an answer right from the start. Let's talk about why you should care. The first thing I want to share with you is there are a lot of surveys and studies and eye tracking reports that you can find on the web going back the past 5 or 6 years. And the one thing that they all have in common is that's an estimated 3/4. Now that varies. Some reports say 72 to 73%, and some reports say as much as 78 to 79%. But overall, an estimated 3/4 of all web users never click past the first page. If you want to verify this statistic, then feel free to Google it. However, if you do Google it, what I want you to do is pay attention to what you do on Google. More often than not, you stick to the results on page number one, don't you? It's just the way we are. Most individuals associate the higher quality websites and the higher quality information and the more relevant information with page number one. Why is this important to you and your marketing? Well, it's because Google is responsible for the lion's share of traffic on the web. More than 60% of all search engine traffic on the entire web is going through Google every single year. So if you're looking for more sales, then that means you're looking for more traffic and more web users. If you're looking for more traffic and web users, then that means you need to look at Google. They are the 999-pound gorilla in the room. Everyone else, Yahoo, Bing, and so forth, tends to play follow the leader. So if you rank well with Google, typically, while not guaranteed, but typically, you're going to rank well with the other search engines as well. Let's give you another reason here. Now this one I find very, very interesting. Again, this is going back to many different consumer studies in the past number of years. And generally what they tell us is that many consumers still believe that you are ranked on the search engines based on the quality of your company or of your products. Now, you and I know that this is simply not true. How on earth would Google, Yahoo, and Bing and all these search engines, how would they know the quality of your product or of your service or your customer service? They simply don't. There's no way to verify. However, many consumers still have that perception, and as we know, perception is reality. If they are making their buy decisions based on this perception, then we need to cater to that perception. It's much better if they believe that you being on page number one means you're a higher quality business, then you need to make sure you're on page number one, whether or not that is true. Perception is reality. Let's give them what they want. High rankings. That means more traffic, more individuals who are already going to the web searching for your product or service. So if we're going to give Google what they want, then we really need to know what it is that Google really cares about. What does Google want? And that really seems to be the big mystery. We're gonna pull back the curtains here and reveal these mysteries to you. Google generally cares about 3 things, okay? But we're going to primarily talk about the very first thing on the list, and that is relevancy. In other words, if you go to Google and you perform a search for Chicago-style pizza, you can rest assured that the websites that come back to you are going to be about Chicago-style pizza, right? Whether that be pizza restaurants or pizza recipes, you're going to generally get what you're looking for. You're not going to get a Mercedes dealership. You're not going to get a shoe store. And that's why so many people use Google, is because of the accurate and relevant results. And that's what Google cares about. Their entire business model. We have a multi-billion-dollar company here in revenue. And all of that revenue is built on one fundamental truth, and that is that Google tends to deliver the most relevant results. So that's what they really care about more than just about anything else. Now, Google also does care about the uniqueness of your content, okay? Google also cares about the popularity of your content. Do people really care about your content? Are they finding your website and your content on other websites? Are people linking to it? Are people talking about it? All of these other things matter as well. But the number one thing on the list that we're going to base most of this training on is the number one thing on Google's list as well, and that's relevancy. So when we start talking about ranking well in the search engines, meaning when people who are interested in your product or service go to Google and they type something out, who is the first person they see, right? That's what we're concerned about, because the first person they see is generally going to get the lion's share of the clicks. So you want to rank and be that first person seen by people who are hunting for your product or service. That's when we start to get traffic. That's when we start to make sales. But the first thing we have to do is give Google what they want. If you're ranking on page number 25 and the average person doesn't even bother going to page 2, then we're in deep trouble. And that's where many business owners tend to fall into a big trap and wonder, hey, why am I not getting more business online? When your competitors certainly are. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we give Google what they want? And the first thing we have to do is prove to Google that your website, that your content is indeed relevant to the keywords that you wish to rank for. Now, don't worry if you're not familiar with the term keywords. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. But the first thing I want to talk to you about is, what does Google see when they look at your website? Because if we can answer that question, then we've taken one big step in the right direction. And that is your web address. That is your domain name. That is your URL. I'm not talking about 3 separate things here. I'm talking about one thing. These terms are all interchangeable by and large. A domain name, URL, and web address, we're referring to pretty much the same thing here. www.whatever your website is .com. Okay, that's your web address. That's your URL. That's your domain name. So let's go back to that imaginary scenario of somebody going to Google and typing out the word Chicago pizza. When somebody types out this term, Chicago pizza, what happens? Well, Google has over 1 trillion individual web pages to sort through. So what Google does as a shortcut to accomplish this huge feat of sorting through all these massive amounts of web pages is they go back and they look at hints or clues that a website is relevant to this search term. So the first thing they're looking at is your web address. So let me ask you a question. If 2 web addresses, if I asked you which of these web addresses is more relevant, www.joesmith.com or www.chicagopizza.com, which is more relevant? Well, it's pretty obvious. You don't really know what Joe Smith is. You don't know what Joe Smith does. All you know is that this person's name is probably Joe Smith. But beyond that, it's not telling you much. So we have a problem. If it's not telling you much, then it's not telling Google much either. However, chicagopizza.com, or maybe bestchicagopizza.com, or chicagopizzarestaurant.com, all of those are pretty clear that they're very relevant with that search term, Chicago pizza. If your website address is not telling Google what you do or what search terms you wish to rank for, then you're making your task a little more difficult than it has to be. Would you rather roll a small half-a-pound baseball up a hill, or would you rather roll a 100-pound boulder up a hill? Why make our job, why make our task and our goal more difficult to obtain? So the first step in making your website more search engine friendly is we need a search engine friendly domain name, a web address that tells the search engines what your website is about or what you wish to rank for. Okay, so in order to do that, I have a couple rules here for you. If you have a piece of paper, go ahead and write these out now. If you have to pause to go grab a pen and paper, go ahead and do so, because these are some very important rules for you. Number 1, you want to keep it local if possible. Now, here's what I mean by this, guys. If you're a bricks and mortar type business, then more often than not, the vast majority of your business comes within a specific demographic, a specific geographic region, 25 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, depending on what it is you sell around your physical location. Now, some of you may sell nationally, some of you may sell in multiple cities and states, and that's all fine and good. However, it's easier to start off targeting one geographic region first and expand than it is to try to target a whole bunch of cities and a whole bunch of states and the entire U.S. all at once. That becomes an almost impossible task to consume all in one sitting. It's much easier to start off local. Where are your initial clients coming from? Let's target them first. So instead of targeting pizza in general, if I own a pizza store, I want to target Chicago pizza if I'm located in pizza, or Atlanta pizza if I'm located in Atlanta. I want to go by a local city or region, not a huge area. It's easier to rank and it's more specific, and Google loves it when you stay local. Next, you want to keep your web address relevant. Again, we've already discussed the importance of telling Google what your website is about or what your product or service is about. Which words or phrases are your prospects typing into the search engines to find or research your product or service? Once you narrow that down, then you can pick out your web address or your domain name and keep it relevant. Keep it obvious. If I have to guess what it is that you do, then we have a problem, because that means Google and your customers or clients as well, or potential customers and clients, have to guess as well. And then finally, we want to keep it short, or at least shorter. I realize that sometimes if you're trying to be descriptive in your domain name, it may be a little bit longer than we initially intended. But if you have more than one option, a short or a shorter variation, typically shorter is going to be easier for your prospects and clients to remember. Not always, guys. There are exceptions to the rule, but by and large, it's usually better to have a shorter domain name than a longer one. We're not done yet. I have a couple more rules for you here. Don't point a bunch of domain names at one website. Now, this does not mean you cannot have more than one web address pointing at a single website. Google understands that sometimes you change names or update your site or find a better domain, and you may have to have more than one domain pointing at a single website. But we've had individuals say, you know what, I do business in 25 different cities, so I'm going to buy domain names in all 25 cities, and I'm going to point them all at that one website. And that's a mistake. We're not doing ourselves any favors by doing that, and I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details and history behind why that's a bad idea, but let's just understand that that tends to be a bad idea. Let's keep it to one or two domain names if possible. It makes things a lot easier on you, especially going forward with your search engine optimization campaign. Next, stay away from vanity domains. joesmith.com being the example, just like a vanity phone number. Vanity phone numbers may be easier to remember. Vanity domain names, they're not very descriptive. Again, there are exceptions to the rules. If you already have branded yourself and you have name recognition, then yes, you don't want to just drop all of that name recognition and branding work that you have done. But for newer businesses that do not have that name recognition and have not branded their name yet, they're better off to have a more descriptive domain name than a vanity domain name. And finally, and this is the most important rule of all, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, guys, but you must take action now. Here's why. Google favors websites that are seasoned. What I mean by this is that the longer your website is around and the more Google can watch you and see that your content is good and that it's fresh and that you update your site and that people are coming to your website, the better and the easier it is to rank. Versus brand new websites that are a big question mark. Google has no clue who you are, what you sell, and if people like your content or not. So the more you put off, every day you put off taking action, not only are you increasing the likelihood that you're going to continue to delay, but you're also slowing down your lead generation process. The sooner you take action, the better. So you need to do this right now. Do yourself a favor and follow through with the tasks we're about to assign to you in the rest of this training. So the tool that we're going to use to take action, here's where we take action, guys. Here's the fun part. You actually get to roll up your sleeves. We're going to leave these boring slides and go right to the web and show you how to do this. We're going to introduce you to a tool called Google Keyword Tool. Now, I know I have this link here on the screen. Don't worry about trying to scribble this out real quick, because I'm going to show you how to find this web address here without having to write everything down manually. Okay, so we're going to exit the slides and we're going to go straight to google.com. So I want you to join me. Go to google.com right now. Okay, so here we are at Google, and what I want you to do is type out Google Keyword, that's one word, Keyword Tool. And you're going to do a search. Now, generally, when you do this search, the result is going to be the top result. Not always. Don't worry if yours isn't identical, okay? But typically, it's going to be the top result. But if you look at it, you're going to see where it's going to say adwords.google.com/select/keyword tool external. Okay, so you're going to see just what I'm seeing here, okay? adwords.google.com, select keyword tool external. You're going to click on it, and it's going to bring you to this page. Give it a moment to load here. There we are. So you're going to see this page where it's going to tell you that you can find keywords based on one or more of the following. And it's going to tell you words or phrases go here in this box. Now this box, you could type more than one phrase. All you have to do is type out your phrase and then hit enter. So we're going to go back to that imaginary scenario of somebody searching for Chicago pizza. So pretend you're a pizza restaurant owner. Chicago pizza, Chicago style pizza, Chicago IL pizza, short for Illinois. Okay. And once I'm done with this, I'm going to scroll, just kind of pull my cursor down here and make sure where it says locations. I'm going to make sure that the country that I'm performing this search in is accurate. Okay, United States, language, English. And then I want to come down here and type out this little CAPTCHA box. So that's where we type out what these funny looking letters. That's where Google's trying to verify that we are indeed a live human and not a bot. We're going to click that search button. So this is your opportunity to get inside the heads of your prospects. What are they likely searching for on the search engines? That's what you want to put into this box, and you want to put as many variations as possible. So we're going to scroll down, and what we've done is we've asked Google to tell us how many searches are performed on a monthly basis for these specific keywords. So we see here my first keyword is Chicago pizza, and I can see there are 246,000 searches on a monthly basis. Chicago style pizza, number 2, 27,100. We're going to ignore where it says global monthly, and we're focusing here on local monthly, okay? Because we're not wanting to look at worldwide results. We're wanting to look at results here in the U.S. If that's where you happen to be located. If you happen to be overseas, then again, you're going to be looking at whatever's local to you. Chicago IL pizza, 8,100 searches a month, and then Chicago, Illinois, with the word spelled out instead of the abbreviation, we have 6,600 searches. So what we see here is that there's a lot of traffic, but beyond what we've already typed out, Google's going to give us additional keyword ideas here. They're going to tell us, okay, well, if you're looking at this, then here's another couple hundred ideas as well. And as you can see here, I could tell Google, I want to scroll through, the top 100, go to page 1, go to page 2, and so forth. But right now, just for the sake of brevity, let's focus on these results. So what I'm looking for here is indicators that these people are buyers. Okay, people that are actually looking to purchase some pizza to eat here, not pizza recipes or not, any of these other things, that somebody may be doing, just some comparison or reading the history of Chicago style pizza and all those things. So I'm looking for indicators. So, Chicago pizza, that may have an impressive number here, almost 250,000 searches a month, but Chicago pizza, that's such a vague term because that doesn't tell me that they're looking for pizza restaurants. So I might come up here and type out Chicago pizza restaurants and add that to my search. Okay, Chicago style pizza, again, a pretty impressive number here, 27,000 searches a month, and that's probably a little better than just Chicago pizza, but again, they could be looking for recipes of Chicago style pizza or the history of Chicago style pizza. Chicago IL and Chicago, Illinois pizza, now we're getting a little closer to home, and the numbers aren't quite as impressive, but still 8,000 plus searches a month here, plus another 6,000 plus searches a month here. We're starting to get some a good amount of exposure to thousands of people every single month. Those numbers add up very, very quickly. And what I'm going to do is take and write down the best keywords where I have a balance of a good amount of monthly searches with a very focused term or phrase. Okay, so I'm not going to go with the vague phrase up here, Chicago pizza or Chicago style pizza, but rather something more focused. And I'm going to try to turn that into a domain name or web address. I want to include these words, Chicago and pizza, and if I can, Illinois, or maybe Chicago pizza restaurant. I'm going to come up here and refresh and enhance my results by typing out Chicago pizza restaurant and so forth. So I might add this and search and see, what you don't know until you try. So Chicago pizza restaurant, I have 5,400 additional searches. So we have 5,000 here, 6,000 here, 8,000 here, and I can just keep building on this by getting more and more creative with the terms and phrases that I type into this box. Again, your goal is to find keywords or phrases that have my general rule of thumb is I want more than 1,500 or to 2,000 searches a month. Anything when we start dropping below 1,500 and 1,000 searches a month, the numbers are getting a little on the small side for me. So whenever possible, keep that number higher up. As you can see here, we have 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 27,000. These are more along the lines of the numbers that I'm looking for. It doesn't mean you can't make it work with smaller numbers, but these are more ideal when you have the bigger numbers. That just means more potential traffic for you. So you can write down that phrase, and then we're going to head on over to this website here, HostGator.com, because what we need to do now is we need to grab that domain name. Once you have the keyword built into a web address, just spin it into a web address. Chicago Pizza Guy, ChicagoPizzaRestaurant.com, Best Chicago Pizza. So take that phrase, and there's tons of words you can add to it. You can add the word site, blog, website. You can add the word the, guy, gal. There's literally hundreds of prefixes and suffixes that you can add. You can put dashes in there. But one thing I want to caution you of is do not, if you go and search to see if these web addresses are available and you find out that the one that you wanted is already taken, do not turn around and try to grab a .net. And here's why you don't want to do that. If the .com is already taken, then that means most likely that's a competitor. If by default, I tend to type out .com because 95% of the sites that I go to are .com. If individuals that are shopping or your potential clients do the same thing, accidentally go to .com, they end up on your competitor's website. So you've effectively sent people to your competition because they forgot that you're .net and not .com. So let's avoid losing business that way. You want to grab as much of that business as possible. So if the .com is already taken, then find something else, or if you have to put a dash in there somewhere to make yours different, or add the word the or guy at the end, or whatever prefix or suffix you have to, go ahead and do it. It's worth it, as opposed to trying to grab a .net variation. All right, so HostGator.com, this is where we're going to go now, and we're going to grab that web address, and we're going to grab your web hosting. Now, at the bottom of this video player, underneath this video player, I have a little code for you that's going to allow you to grab your first month of web hosting for a penny, guys. So I'm making this as risk-free for you as possible. You're going to click where it says web hosting. Okay, don't worry, we're going to show you how to grab your domain name and web address here in just a moment. And we're going to take a look at either the baby plan or the hatchling plan. Either of these is really all you need. You don't need to spend more and grab the business plan. If you're wondering, well, what is web hosting? Well, your web address is like the address to your building. So the web hosting is almost like the building itself. Okay, that's where we're going to contain all of your files. This is what's actually going to make your website available on the web. You have to have web hosting in order to be live on the internet. So if you're wondering why I'm telling you guys you have to buy your own web hosting, is because we don't want to do a freebie website because it's simply not professional, or it tends to be very easy to lose your rankings when they make policy changes or somebody abuses those free websites or any of those things that could hinder your search engine success. So let's do the professional thing. We're running our business like professionals here. Let's go out and buy professional hosting so the site is yours and yours alone. No one can come and take it from you. It's your website now. So is that worth spending a couple of bucks a month to have your own website? If you grab the baby plan here, generally you're between about $6 and $7.96 a month, and you have unlimited websites. You can add more than one website to your own hosting plan. The other reason why you need to pick up web hosting today, guys, is that as we go through the training, I'm using this same web hosting. So if we're setting up a website, I'm using this specific control panel. If you're not using the same control panel as I am, you're going to get confused very, very easily. And with so many people going through my free training, I'm not going to be able to stop and help every single one of you, okay, if you have something different than I have. So it's just easier for you to go through and learn what was formerly a complex topic. We're going to make it point and click simple for you, but you got to be using the same control panel as me. So let's make this easy. Click the Order Now button. And it's going to ask you to enter your domain name. So what you're going to do is put your web address. I'm just making one up here, freetrainingrocks.com. It already says .com here. Again, let's stick with .com. And this is very important here to get your hosting for 1 penny for your first month. And that coupon code, look at the coupon code I have underneath this video player. Go ahead and type that coupon code right here where it's asked for your coupon code before you click continue to step 2. You're not going to get a second chance to do this. So put that in now and then click continue to step 2. So you're going to pick your billing cycle here. That's going to determine what your monthly payment is, or you can pay for an entire year up front or 6 months or whatever the case may be. You're going to choose your username, password, and then just like anything else, guys, to place your order. Now, again, you're going to get your hosting for about a penny, a web address, your domain name, your search engine friendly domain name. You need to grab that right now because all of the additional training after today is going to be based on that having a search engine friendly web address and your own professional hosting. So grab that now, and then you'll be ready to move on. Again, you get it for a penny, but your domain name is going to cost you what, about $12-13 for a whole year. So you're hardly spending anything here to have a professional website built. Beyond that, guys, if for whatever reason you decide this is not for you, HostGator offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. They talk about it right here. I apologize. It's now up to 45 days. So you're protected. You'll get your penny back. All right. So don't worry. This is no risk to you. It's only 5 days to go through this training, get your website built, and you're ready to move on. Let's wrap things up. So let's review your steps here. What you're going to do today is you're going to pick out your web address, your domain name, step 1. Step 2, you're going to go to HostGator.com, and step 3, you're going to set up your hosting and your domain name. Use the coupon code that we give you below this video. That'll get you your first month for a penny, and then you're ready to move on. The reason why you need to do this today, guys, is tomorrow I'm going to send you your very first day 1 training. Today is your pre-training to get you set up. You got to have all these items set up so that you'll be able to complete the tasks that I show you tomorrow, because we're actually going to install your website tomorrow. It's only going to take you about 5 minutes too. Tomorrow's a pretty short day, quick and simple, and you'll be able to hammer it out right away, especially since you have this action taken already. Sometimes it takes several hours or even up to 12 to 24 hours for all of this to take effect when you make your purchase through HostGator. Usually it's quicker, but since it could take up to 24 hours, it's best if you do this now so that you're ready for tomorrow. That's it, guys. Once you've taken this action, you are ready to build a website with me starting tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.